Who's not coming down the track? Who's not coming down the track? It's a mean machine in red and white. Mean machine in red and white. Ain't nothing finer in the red. Ain't nothing finer in the red. Little girls are marching straight to bed. Go, 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 go.
What's up, y'all? This is John and Caleb back for another episode of the Nothing Finer podcast. As always, you can find us as part of Fans First Sports Network. Normally, we are live on Thursdays on YouTube, Thursdays on Millions, Sundays on YouTube. Audio everywhere, all the good stuff. We're talking about week 6 this week. And I hate to complain because we only get so many weeks of college football, right?
Yeah.
Week 6 kind of sucks.
Well, week 2 was kind of supposed to suck too, and then crazy stuff happened, and that seems to always happen during these weeks where we go into it and we're like, there's not a whole lot to look at. That's when the chaos goes down.
Man, let's hope because
As long as
like
it's not in Athens, let's.
right, we did struggle to actually pick 4 games to talk about.
Yeah.
Um, because everything seems like everybody knows what's going to happen. Um,
Just you
but
wait till some of my picks this week.
well,
Well, one of them.
Mike just went opposite of what I think both of us kind of said. So it'll
Oh,
be
wow. That'll be interesting at the very least.
yes. But how you been? What are you drinking?
I have been okay. I wasn't sure that I was going to be able to jump on here without using my work phone as a mobile hotspot or something because us and like 8 or 9 surrounding counties had Xfinity down for most of the day today. So I'm not sure what that was about, but we got back online early this afternoon. Um, I still made sure I went out and touched grass because I told my coworkers I was going to do that today with the Wi-Fi down, mainly as a joke, but I did go play some disc golf and stuff. And I am still going through my big old pack of Mike's Hard Strawberry Lemonades. So, what about you? How you doing?
Man, this week just felt weird. Like I just felt kind of out of it. Part of that is being a little sick. Part of that is it's just it's just been a weird week, and everybody I know has said that it's been a weird week. Like
It has been weird. I can agree with that too.
just odd. It seems like every day something crazy's happened. Um, but like not crazy enough to be concerned, just crazy enough to be a decently sized inconvenience. But it's been every day.
Oh,
So it's just weird. I do have a Sweetwater hazy because I've pretty much only had water today and I wanted something with flavor, and this was the only thing in the fridge. So,
fair enough.
all right. Speaking of no flavor, Texas at Florida.
Golly. Imagine
Um,
telling somebody like week 0 that this game was going to be like 2 bottom of the SEC teams struggling to reach the end
okay,
zone.
two bottom of the SEC offenses because
Yeah, fair. They do both have solid defenses, Texas especially, so that's fair.
yeah, and so Texas 6.5 point favorite, over under 41.5. That's a real Big Ten over under there. It's kind of disappointing for teams that generally have had an offense and no defense for most of their existence. But Texas. All right, just off the top, Texas is winning this game because it doesn't matter how both of these teams are. I just said their defenses are good because they are. But Florida has the worst offense in the SEC.
Maybe in Power 4.
It, it's truly possible. And I say that not because Kentucky is better. because Florida is more talented. Um, but Florida has so much talent, and the coaches cannot score more than 10 points against a power conference opponent. That is the most that Florida has scored against power conference opponent. 10. And Kentucky put up 23 on Ole Miss. So, like,
Yeah.
they are better statistically. This game is definitely going to hit the Big Ten under. It's just both of these offenses are completely incompetent with offensive-minded head coaches and five-star quarterbacks, and a truly perplexing situation going on with both of these.
You're telling me a bunch of journalists gave both these quarterbacks 5 stars when they played in high school and neither of them are doing well? But journalists are right about everything.
You know, I'm pretty sure I said it on this podcast when the whole Arch Manning, like, spurns Georgia thing happened.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I said it. Like, if you watch the tape, it's not that he's good. He's playing against people that don't know how to play football.
Yeah.
He's playing in the essentially like single A private Christian high school New Orleans conference. And yes, he was better than everyone. He was also a foot taller than all of his offensive linemen, and he could actually throw a football. But of course, he looks like he's going to beat the world. You know, not saying he can't be good, just saying he got 5 stars because of his name.
Yeah, facts.
Where's that? Oh, so both of these offenses are just completely incompetent, and I think the two of us could call better offensive game plans for what these quarterbacks do well. But they're going against top 22 defenses. Texas is top 10, Florida is 22nd. So if you want to watch some bad quarterback play, watch this game. So because I don't think there's a lot to talk about here. I think Texas wins. They probably cover because Florida scoring more than 10 points is unheard of at this point. And I think the under hits. But if Billy wins this one with a good offensive game, let's say they score 28 points against his top 5 defense. Is he still getting fired on Sunday?
Shoot, I think if they win 17-14, Billy keeps his job the rest of the year.
So, I
please,
would have to agree with you, but it's so funny.
Yes.
I don't get it. Like
that's just the way. What I have learned about Florida fans is that any movement in a slightly positive direction is enough to send them into we're winning the national championship levels of hopium.
But I don't like. Here's the thing. I think Florida could have beaten Miami 31-3 in Miami, and I think most Florida fans, especially the ones that actually know what they're talking about, still want Billy gone.
That's well, I mean, that's fair saying the ones that actually know what they're talking about, but there's like 4 of them.
I just happen to know, like,
3.
Yes.
Right.
No, I mean, at this point, Billy has earned his pink slip. He has.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And I'm personally of the belief that it doesn't matter if he wins this game 42-7. He needs to be gone.
Yeah.
Now, to be fair, I think he should have been tarmacked the night of the USF game instead of waiting until all of his players have run out of eligibility.
If that's what they did on purpose, that was it.
Right. But they're doing everything the absolute wrong way. And honestly, if y'all are Florida fans that are mad at Billy Napier for still having this job, and I've actually seen Florida fans say he should have had the integrity to resign by now.
Why would he?
Right. Because if he resigns, he doesn't get the buyout.
Yeah.
Y'all are dumb.
Come on now.
You should be mad at Scott Strickland for hiring him in the first place.
Yeah.
giving
We
him this long.
all laughed at this hire. We have been calling him Sunbelt Billy from the beginning because he was hired off the back of winning the Sunbelt once in 4 tries.
Yep.
And people said I was ignorant and said, "Oh, the Sunbelt's a really good conference. You just don't know football if you're calling him Sunbelt Billy."
Okay.
Well, look how
The
it's panned out.
Sunbelt is a good conference. But being
It's
a
an entertaining
good Sunbelt
conference.
coach doesn't mean you're a good. It doesn't mean you're a good SEC coach.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
Sunbelt football is very entertaining, but I don't think any of those coaches is going to beat any SEC coach except for maybe Derek Dooley or whoever it was, Butch Jones or.
It was it Butch or Pruitt that
I think,
beat
yeah,
Georgia
you're right.
State?
You're right. That was Pruitt. Now that you mention it.
I mean, the dude doesn't know what asparagus is. Like, how is he going to win football games? But yeah, no, I think he still gets fired, and I think regardless of the outcome of this game, he should have already been fired. But boy, has Scott Strickland just gone about everything the opposite of the right way.
Yeah. Yeah. Remember when Greg McGarity surprised us by making the move to fire Mark Richt so we could snatch up Kirby Smart because he hadn't shown any backbone in anything? Scott Strickland is in that boat right now, where he's probably on his way out if he doesn't show some backbone and really find something here.
Well, all right. This is something that I feel like does not get talked about enough with Greg McGarity. In 2020, when athletics and attending games and all that was shut down, the University of Georgia was one of 2 athletic departments across the country through every level of college sports that did not have to take a loan to be able to continue to pay their staffs and operate the program. Because instead of saying, "Oh, yeah, you need an indoor batting cage, here's $10 million for an indoor batting cage," he saved money, right?
That's
So,
true.
like, there's UCLA's of the world, $200 million in debt and potentially having to go bankrupt on their athletics department. And then there's Georgia. So Greg McGarity made a lot of mistakes, but he is a massive reason that Georgia's in the position to spend money every single year on a different sport like they currently are. The other was Texas A&M, by the way.
Yeah.
So
makes sense. They've got all the money in the world if they want it.
Yeah.
I will say, going back just to the game, it is true that Florida has not scored more than 10 points against power competition so far. But I would like to remind you that Texas also has not scored more than 10 points against power competition so far. Texas does, however, have a lot more momentum, a slightly better quarterback, a slightly better defense, and much better coaching. This just feels like a Florida win to me. Like, between that and, I mean, I do also just traditionally put the horns down when I make my predictions posts every week, and I felt like I couldn't pick Texas if I was doing that, but I couldn't just not do it, So, and I'm gonna pick here the same way I pick there. So maybe it's just that literally nothing on paper tells me that Florida wins this game. But after last week, and after I picked Florida to beat Ole Miss last season purely on vibes, I'm trusting the vibes, and I'm picking Florida to win an ugly, sloppy, very boring defensive game.
All right, score prediction for this one. If it's a defensive game, does the under still hit?
Oh, very much so. 13-10 is what my official prediction was.
Like, it's a game that Iowa would be proud of.
Yes.
Except for they like punts and not turnovers.
Yeah, we're talking like 13-3 at halftime. Texas marches down the field and scores a touchdown with like 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and then gets the ball back and just does nothing with it.
So we're going to be seeing a lot of arch picks, but not the kind that anybody likes.
Exactly.
All right, Mike goes, normally I would agree with Kaleb that the vibes are in Florida's favor, but Texas is coming off a bye as well, and that gave Arch time to rest up from the injury he allegedly doesn't have. He thinks Florida has given up and Texas has everything to play for right now. 3:30 in the swamp doesn't sound fun. It doesn't, but the weather has been very pleasant lately.
That's true. Is the weather ever pleasant in Gainesville, though?
Well, you're in Gainesville, so nothing's pleasant, but it can be not
Right.
terrible.
Fair.
he said he has not been to that stadium, but they should really lean into Shrek and play clips throughout the game. I agree, actually.
Yeah,
I have been there. It's awful. It's super overrated environment. They should still do that.
yeah, absolutely. They
Um,
should. It can't make it any worse.
Fair. Look, and if y'all are saying that I'm just biased and a hater, go to a game there. Like go to just a general SEC game. Not a game that Florida might lose or is going to be a good game. Just like go to a game in the swamp
Yeah.
because Georgia gets up for SEC opponents, right?
Hmm.
It's still a tough environment. Tennessee gets up for SEC opponents. It's still a tough environment. And when I say tough environment, for the first three quarters, like Georgia, Texas, Tennessee, Alabama, like all Willie B, they're all tough environments. It took being down 28 points for South Carolina students to leave the blowout they had where they lost to Vandy.
Yeah.
I was there in the first quarter of a Florida South Carolina game where South Carolina was coming off of a big win and Florida was coming off of a loss, and it had the same environment of Marshall at Georgia.
Golly.
It was not good. Um, but anyways, Mike says he has a parlay with Texas covering in it, so that's what he's going to stick with.
Fair enough. I will say I will come back and oh no, I'm not going to come back and gloat if Florida does win because it's still a Florida win and that doesn't make me feel good either.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a blowout, please bring up the vibes play because
Yeah, apparently that works.
I mean the vibes are just so bad with both of those programs. It's real tough.
It's hard to tell if
Yeah.
one is marginally better than the other. Who's to say that that actually means anything? That's fair.
Speaking of, does it actually mean anything with these two teams we're about to talk about? Miami at Florida State,
Man,
because we don't know if anything has meant anything with either of these two teams so far.
yeah, are they good? Are
Are they
they?
are they bad? We don't know
We don't know.
anything. Week 6 and we're still clueless. Miami 4.5 point favorite in Tallahassee. Wild to say out loud.
Yeah,
Over under 53.5. I was much more excited about this game before last Friday because Florida State gave up 229 passing yards and 211 rushing yards against a Chandler Morris led Virginia team. And if you're not a degenerate junkie for college football like I am, you're wondering why does that name sound familiar?
I was wondering that, and I am a degenerate junkie. So continue.
Uh, he beat out this guy named Max Duggan in 2021 and 2022 for the TCU starting
That's
job.
right.
And then, due to a small injury, lost his job 2 years in a row. One of them was significant. But 2022 completely lost his job to Max Duggan. And, this guy was a freshman at his first of 4 schools in 2020.
Wow.
Oklahoma in 2020, TCU 21, 22, 23, North Texas 24, Virginia 25.
Wow.
It's a lot.
He's a regular Zach Calzada.
He certainly is, except for Chandler Morris has finally found his talent.
Right.
So Florida State also turned the ball over 3 times and allowed 2 sacks and 5 tackles for loss. The good news for Florida State in this one, they picked Chandler Morris off 3 times, and we all know Carson Beck's just standard personality is Oprah with the football. Give one to everybody.
Yep.
On a real note, though, Miami actually has a legit D-line this year, and their pass rush is absolutely elite. It doesn't matter who they're playing. They're going to get to the quarterback. It hurts to say this, but Miami's going to win because Florida State just revealed how vulnerable they are.
Yeah.
Florida State dropping 2 in a row and going from top 8 to unranked in 2 weeks is going to be wildly hilarious.
Yes.
Because
some of us still don't like Florida State, by the way.
No. The week and how they still have players in the NFL talking about how they would have won that game is wild to me. But another coaching career question. Does a blowout in either direction affect either coach's career? And I say this because Norvell, his seat could not have gotten any hotter going into week 1 this year.
Mm-hmm.
Undefeated in the regular season to 2-10. And then, he started off great. I feel like his seat's heating back up because Florida State fans have no patience.
No.
And then Mario Cristobal with the best team he's ever had. One of the most talented teams in the country. Top 3, top 4 ranked team. If he loses to a rival where he is favored going into their house and his transfer quarterback throws a couple of interceptions, like, does it affect either coach's career?
I mean, I think people are thinking about things in more serious ways. I definitely think Cristobal will actually say more if he gets blown out in this game than Norvell. But I think even just with a convincing loss, not even necessarily a blowout, both of these coaches are kind of in trouble. Cristobal, I guess, has a little more room because he hasn't lost yet this season. But he's, as I predicted, they're going to take an L to Syracuse down the line, or somebody like that, and then the talk is really going to heat up when they just miss out on the playoff. I actually don't think that they're going to miss out on the playoff, but blowout in the first round is very much not off the table. I also think that there's a risk for both of these teams, more Florida State, just because we've seen it happen before, of them just giving up on the season with a loss.
They're still mostly transfers.
Yeah. I do like Miami in this one, just because Carson Beck already owns Florida State after the Orange Bowl a couple of years ago. The team down there probably has some of the same players that showed up that day if they didn't all transfer out. I don't know if they did or not. I couldn't be bothered to check. But other sports media has taught me that the facts don't matter if you have a good narrative about Carson Beck to sell. So give me Miami.
So Mike said, actually, you read Mike's thing because you brought up a good point that I'm doing some research on now.
Okay, fair enough. Mike said, I really hate both teams. Same. FSU for the losers mentality last year, and Miami because of Beck, and Mario because he is a 99 overall recruiter, but the stadium pulse always makes him make dumb decisions. The only outcome I would be shocked with in this game would be FSU winning in a blowout. Yeah, agreed. I think FSU wins straight up because it's difficult to play in Tallahassee, and Carson has a tendency to play like his face looks, parentheses, ugly. Remember the way he played on the road for Georgia last year? He's the same guy. And then FSU money line is in my parlay, so I'm going with them.
To answer your question about how many players have transferred from Florida State since that Orange Bowl until now, or transferred, from Florida State, and I looked up the wrong team. Hold on. The amount of players that have transferred from Miami is actually, they've lost 49 players to the portal over the last 2 seasons.
Oh, wow.
Right, like that's a lot.
That is more than I would have thought.
Hold on.
Yeah, just to remind everybody, Florida State at the time period we're talking about just came off a 63-3 loss for Georgia in the Orange Bowl that they will insist never happened. Which
Correct.
is a large part of the reason, of course, they went 2-10 last year, because losers mentality makes you lose.
That is 100% accurate. All right. If we're going to be honest with each other, On3 transfer portal sites suck.
Facts.
And 247 does not want to bring up the Florida State page for whatever reason.
They're trying to silence us. They want to keep the truth from you.
But I'm actually confused right now.
So I'm going to assume then that every single starter for Florida State was on the field in the Orange Bowl in 2023. I don't have any other choice.
We have to, because I just tried to find it and couldn't, because look, I don't have a problem with On3. Their user interface is pretty trash.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Well, based on that, Miami by 60. What else can I do?
All right. Next game is just top tier funny.
Yes. Very funny things could happen in this game.
The fact that we're talking about this game Vandy at Alabama. Bama 10.5 point favorite, over under 56.5. And, I'm going to be honest. I'm not real high on Vandy in this one. I think we know how this game is going to go. DeBoer hasn't lost a game at home since he took the job. The thing is, and why I try to talk myself into this. So we're a roller coaster of stats here. Bama's allowed 160.5 rushing yards per game. That goes up to 183 against Core 4 competition. Vanderbilt's averaging 223.4 rushing yards per game, and that only dips to 204 against power competition. If Vanderbilt is able to run the ball effectively and actually use their tight ends in the pass game, because that is something that they are one of the best teams in the country at this point. And actually, when you go to quarterback efficiency, they're also top 10 there. But if Vanderbilt can limit Alabama's possessions, and if they can continue to be a top 60 passing defense, which they are.
Yeah, it's a lot to ask with those guys on the field, but they are.
Many spots ahead of Georgia at this point. Vanderbilt is capable of winning this game. I just don't think they do all of that in Tuscaloosa. I have Bama covering, and it sucks.
I'm not picking Bama to cover, and I understand your arguments. I really do. But I have also seen Alabama spend the last couple of years playing up and down to their competition. I do think they beat Vanderbilt because they're at home, but I do think it's a little bit of a hangover game for the Tide. Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll come out hot because they lost this game last year. I've just seen the way they operate. But I have never rooted for Diego Pavia harder than I will on Saturday. Yeah, people try to tell me all the time, you should root for Alabama to win out so it looks better for Georgia. I don't care.
Did it change anything last season?
No. If Georgia takes care of business the rest of the season, we're in either way. I'm rooting for that. And I'm rooting for not seeing Alabama again.
Yep.
Oh, you're scared of Alabama? Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not ashamed to admit it.
They have earned the right. They are the boogeyman. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, something about that Atlanta Braves logo with a mullet makes our coaching staff forget what football is. So, yeah, I would rather that not prevent us from a championship this year. So go Doors.
The Braves forgot to wipe, and it left that little hanger on.
But yeah, I do think Alabama wins. I just don't think they'll cover. But it wouldn't surprise me to see them cover either.
Mike said Bama covers only because they'll be up for this game since they lost to Vandy last year. He hopes he's wrong because he only feels alive anymore when someone beats Bama for us.
Same, honestly. I remember some friends of ours last year after the Oklahoma game got introduced to the football side of me real quick after that Oklahoma game because I messaged something to them that I intended for our group chat.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, it was quite something.
Oh, no, so I think every Georgia fan remembers where they were because that was the same. Like, my in-laws had renewed their vows that afternoon. So we were at a hotel in Charlotte. We had just got back. And, we're down bad. We're trying to plan, like, what day do we want Georgia to have their home playoff game? Because they're not getting to the SEC championship game. Oh, Alabama gets in just from beating an Oklahoma team that's bad.
Yeah.
And then just sitting on the edge of the bed in the hotel room all night, watching that, laughing so hard.
Yeah.
All right. Last game we're talking about tonight, and that is Kentucky at Georgia. Georgia 20.5 point favorite, over under 48.5. And if we're being entirely honest, y'all, Kentucky sucks.
I hate it, but you're right.
Like, they've had a tough schedule. They're good. They're bad. They're genuinely the worst team in the SEC. They are 102nd in total defense, 82nd in scoring defense, 99th in total offense, 80th in scoring offense. And
they had Toledo on the schedule.
There are SEC teams below them in every category. But it'll be like South Carolina is 5 spots worse in total offense, but that's the only place South Carolina is worse.
Mm-hmm.
Kentucky is second from last in every category, and there's no team consistently below them.
Which means they're last.
Yeah, they're bad. They're awful. And what really sucks is, a few years ago when we had Cash on, we were, talking like, is Mark Stoops going to be there forever? Because he's
Mm-hmm.
earned it at this point. And then the next few years happens, and this has got to be Mark Stoops last year, which
Yeah.
just a completely unfathomable thought a couple of years ago.
Right. When they were consistently getting 8, 9, 10 wins, it seemed like Mark Stoops was just the perfect guy for
Beating
Kentucky football.
Florida every now and then,
Yeah.
beating Tennessee every now and then, owned South Carolina for a while until Beamer
Yeah.
got there.
Wasn't the highest ceiling in the world. They weren't going to win a national championship, but it's about as high of a ceiling as Kentucky's going to get.
Right. Um, but yeah, ever since Liam Cohen left the first time, it's been awful.
Mm-hmm.
And Zach Calzada is not Cam Ward when it comes to being a former Incarnate Word quarterback. But here's the thing. He is not even guaranteed to start this game.
I did see that.
He is probable or doubtful or questionable. I don't know. College football has way too many ables when it
Right.
comes to availability reports. But Cutter Boley is the other guy. The problem is he's not good either. He's just slightly better. They split time about 50-50. Zach Calzada, and by that I mean like pass attempts wise. Zach Calzada has, I think it's around 53 attempts for like 210-ish yards. I'm not looking at it in front of me. But Cutter Boley's at like 55 attempts for 450 yards.
That's
Not great,
yeah, but not as bad.
And I don't really think it matters who starts this game. They're going to try to run the ball a lot, which is something that Bama couldn't even do all that well against Georgia. They did it to some success, but with the amount that they tried, they didn't do it great. All that is not even mentioning the scoring differential when Kentucky travels to Athens. Georgia's won each game by 26.25 points. Kentucky has never scored 2 touchdowns since Kirby took over the program in Athens. This is a get right game against an opponent which would have a tough game against Austin Peay. This will be the first time in the last 16 games that Georgia covers a 20 point or larger spread. And I really think this is one where the coaching staff and the team, they're pissed off. They're trying to prove something, and they go for the over by themselves.
Ooh.
I'm not saying they hit the over by themselves. I think they go for it. Like, give me the Kentucky night game score from a few years ago. Kind of
Okay.
go for it.
Okay.
I think they're mad, and they need to be. And
they better be, yeah.
Something that I thought that I've been tumbling around in my head, and I may have sent it in our smaller group chat. What Gunnar Stockton has not thrown an interception on the season,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we're part of the problem because everybody still talks about Carson Beck's interceptions. I did it 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
I think he is scared to make a mistake, and that's why he doesn't take chances. I think that between Bobo not wanting to lose his job from interceptions,
mm-hmm.
and the amount of trash that we as fans still talk about Carson Beck for his interceptions, I think Gunnar's terrified to make a mistake. So, personally, I would love to see him throw a bad pick in this game and then just get right back into it.
Yeah,
That's wild to say out loud, but I'm not worried about Kentucky.
No, I was gonna say, and I stole this next take from Brooks Austin, so you'll have to forgive me for doing that. But he said this before the Austin Peay game. I think it makes much more sense here. Like, Mike Bobo should pull him aside before the game and tell him, look, the only way I'm going to be mad at you at this game after this game is going to be if you don't throw a pick. Like, go out there and take some shots. this is a game you can afford to do it in a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Like Gunner is a phenomenal football player and a really good quarterback, but he's, I don't want to say he needs to trust himself more. He needs more confidence in his throwing. I feel like he needs more confidence in his receivers to make the play. I get not having it last year if you're playing with those guys, but these guys are good enough to make plays too. I would take some shots, like real shots. Like I get he played great against Tennessee, threw some really nice balls against Tennessee. Some of those are risky. He did that when he had to.
Right.
I think in this case, you don't have to, but it'd be nice to get a few scores ahead early in this game so we don't have to worry about it. I've been depressed most of this week.
Well,
I don't know about you.
yeah.
Today is the first time I really listened to or watched anything related to college football since Saturday. Unless you count me being on this podcast the next day. Yesterday, I finally started moving towards optimism. Seems like you're kind of starting to move in that direction too. So
I am right now strictly because of how bad Kentucky is and how bad they have been specifically in Athens.
Fair. Well, allow me to convince you or anyone else who's listening that there is room for optimism about this Georgia team in general. Nothing. I know we want to move on past last Saturday, but now I'm in a position where I can actually say things about it that aren't just dragging it down. Nothing that went wrong against Alabama Saturday is unfixable. Not a thing.
Right, like T-Rob being allowed to have a headset. Perfectly fixable.
Okay. Well, that is it in a way. But, none of the mistakes made on the field or in play calling, I'll say, were unfixable. Now, you do actually have to fix it. I personally think nothing was particularly unfixable with Georgia's team last year either. But I do think Kirby's kind of back to his old ways this week of giving the media precisely nothing and just focusing on practice, and I love it. I think this loss has fired him up. I think it's going to fire the rest of the team up. I think they are laser focused on getting better. Wasn't the case last year. Last year, it was a lot of everything's fine. Nothing's wrong with Carson. Everything's going exactly how we intended. We're not getting that this year. I know that's what some folks took from Kirby's "I'm not losing sleep over it" comment in his press conference after the game. That's not what he meant.
So I take that two ways because, and this was something that I was going to fully break down in the bye week. I want Kirby to go back to like 2019 level of not being a general manager anymore. Like, I want him to live in the defensive coordinator's ears.
Yes.
Like,
I agree with.
What?
Yeah.
Who cares? You're one of the best defensive coordinators of the last 30 years in football. Act like it. I understand that you don't right now, but I wish you would. But the other way I take the "I'm not losing sleep over it" is I'm one of those people that thinks Kirby just doesn't sleep during the football season anyways.
That's true. How could he lose something he doesn't have? That's a fair point. I personally took it as like he tries not to live in individual losses. But I don't think he's brushing over them anymore either like he did last season. I think, again, he's going to use this to make himself and the team better. I don't think the improvement's going to come quickly.
Right.
This is a very young team. I personally don't think they come out and hang 50 on Kentucky this week, unless, again, Kentucky's just that bad that they let it happen.
But they kind of are.
They could. And if Georgia does hang 50 plus on Kentucky this week, then I will be coming on this podcast and saying some very stupid things on Sunday, even knowing how bad Kentucky is. But this Georgia team, unlike 23 and 24, they're built on a winning culture and a connection with each other. But the fact is, this team is not as good as those teams in 21 and 22 right now. And I don't expect the improvements this team makes to be a sudden jump to that level. And I think any of you who are saying that if we don't see that, we should fire people right now, you're not being super realistic. Now, there are people we should fire right now. I'm not saying otherwise. I'm just saying, I'm talking about like the people who are like, oh, we need to let Kirby go because no.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely asinine. T-Rob.
Yeah.
On the other
T-Rob and James Coley can go.
Yeah, 100%.
But in the 12-team playoff era, the good news is you just have to be the best version of yourself at the right time. So what Ohio State did last year, it worked out pretty well for them. I think Georgia has a good chance to be the best version of them, to be the best version of themselves at the right time, as long as the right changes are made. So, sorry, back to this game specifically. To me, I know Kentucky's really bad, but this spread looks right around right to me. I think it'll be a really slow 3-touchdown game. Not that I don't think Georgia's going to be in control of this game the whole time, because I think they are. I just think Kirby's going to continue to try to run the damn football, because that's what worked best for us against Alabama. It's been the anchor of this offense. I expect that to continue, and I hope it includes a little more of Gunner running, because this offense is a lot more dynamic when he uses his legs. And if they do that, maybe I'll change my tune on what I think the score of this game will be. But I do like Georgia defensively to have a decent bounce back in this game. Nothing crazy, not 2 pick sixes or anything, but a really solid defensive game. A couple of field goals and a garbage time touchdown allowed, maybe. So I like around 31-10 in this game. But in a perfect world, it would look a lot more like you said it would, where we do just kind of do what Georgia has done against Kentucky and Athens lately and just beat the brakes off of them.
Yes, that would be ideal.
Yeah.
But so we got Mike. He said he got so drunk before the last Georgia game that he doesn't remember it.
Brag
maybe
about
that's actually Mike. Your fault. You're the problem. Maybe don't do that. He said he does like Georgia to cover because they typically win convincingly against Kentucky and Athens. Possibly the last nooner of the year, so the team needs to bring the energy because I don't know if the crowd will.
Honeymoon. What am I talking about? Homecoming, tea and crumpets crowd at noon. I highly doubt it.
Yes. I know way too many people bringing their 5-year-old children to this game.
Yeah, and I mean that's
that it's gonna be loud.
Yeah, no. I mean that's what these games are for, is for you to bring your kids to a safer environment where they're not going to get cussed at by some
that's
drunk
what
Tennessee.
High school football's for.
Well, you get cussed out by drunk fans at high school football games.
If your team's good.
Fair. I grew up in one of the biggest football high schools in the country, so fair.
Yeah. There was a TV show about your team at one point, right?
No, the crosstown rival had a TV show, not us. But
I gotcha. All right, best bets. This week I've got some doozies. I've got a couple degenerate bets.
Love a degenerate bet. Come on.
First one, Troy -1.5 hosting South Alabama. Why do I say that? Because South Alabama got blown out by Coastal Carolina, and say bad Coastal Carolina team. Troy runs the ball very well and almost beat Clemson at Clemson. That's it.
Yeah.
How is this Troy team only favored by 1.5 at home? Doesn't make sense. To be completely clear, I know nothing about either team other than who they've played and what the scores of those games are. I'm still taking Troy -1.5 there. Next one, Western Kentucky, and this is actually a Friday night game. Western Kentucky +2 at Delaware.
I looked heavily at this one as a how the heck is this team favored bet.
Now, don't get me wrong, Delaware's pretty good. Delaware took UConn either down to the wire or beat UConn a couple weeks back. But they're not Western Kentucky.
No.
I am a big fan of what Tyson Helton, Clay Helton's in Statesboro, in what Tyson Helton is doing and has done year in and year out at Western Kentucky in Bowling Green, home of the Corvette. Why do I know so many things about Western Kentucky? But I do like Western Kentucky in this game. They just, that air raid offense, Maverick McIver is
the best quarterback name ever.
The best quarterback name.
If he's not starting for the New England Patriots in the next few years.
It's entirely possible. So we got next one, Oklahoma State at Arizona over 56. You know
I
what
like this
travels
one.
in college football? Defense. You know
Hmm.
what Oklahoma State doesn't have?
The Todd Grantham was recently released, so I'm gonna assume they still don't have a defense after 1 week.
You don't get better after firing a guy that has done this for that long. I know he wasn't
Even if
very
it's
good
Todd
at it.
Grantham.
So I know he wasn't very good at it as of the last decade or so.
Yeah.
But you don't fire someone that has forgotten more about football than most of his staff will ever know and get better.
He's certainly forgotten a lot about football.
100%. And then the last one I've got Texas at Florida under 42.5, and
It's
that's
a low
gross.
total, but it's true.
Both of these defenses are just good, like
Yeah.
legitimately scary good, and both of these offenses are allergic to points.
Yep.
So
This
those
game
are
this
mine.
game should have been on Halloween because it is going to be a very scary watch. Ugh, all right. So I'm not even 100% sure why. I just saw the number and I was like, this doesn't look right. I've got to do this. I've got Iowa State getting 1.5 points against Cincinnati. I think the game is at Cincinnati, which is probably a big part of that. I get that Cincinnati's been kind of good. I don't really feel like they're on Iowa State's level. And part of me is just doing this because I predicted that the Big Ten champion would be like 9-3, and Ohio State losing, or Iowa State rather, losing this game would help me make that happen. So nature tends to fade me. So let's make it happen. Um, this one Mike's not gonna like. I've got Wisconsin plus 17.5 against Michigan. Guys, I know Wisconsin's really bad. Like really, really bad. Um, I just haven't seen anything from Michigan that shows me they're gonna blow out any team in the Big Ten. That's you know,
I,
that
if if Wisconsin's defense had made a singular tackle against Alabama, I would be on board with this.
I mean fair. I get the argument. And it's probably gonna happen just because I bet this way. But that's another number that I just saw. I was like, this just doesn't seem right to me. Texas. I didn't bet the total like you, but I did bet the Texas team total under 24. Just seems kind of high. I don't think anybody's reaching 20 in this game. And then this is my new principal bet. Now that Todd Grantham's been fired, I
Wait,
can't
is
be
this
sure.
real?
This
Like you
last total
didn't make
here?
this lineup?
No, I did
Oh,
not.
okay,
This is legitimate.
that's
So
sad.
this is my new principal bet. Since Todd Grantham was fired, I've got to do something else now. UCLA team total against Penn State is 12.5. And I'm taking the under. I have to. They've been terrible.
I'm probably actually going to put money on that one too.
Yeah.
Uh, because Penn State's defense is still good.
Yeah.
Oh,
You're telling me Nico I am leaving Tennessee is going to go out there and score 2 touchdowns against Penn State? No.
I think the only team he scored 2 touchdowns against this year was New Mexico State.
Yeah.
Bad. All right. So Mike, he goes, and this is me talking from Mike's perspective here. I've been on a gambling heater in Florida where you can legally gamble on sports. So he's got BYU minus 19.5 versus West Virginia. He's disrespecting Rich Rod and the
Yeah.
Mountaineers. It's probably going to bite him. He's going the opposite side of you for the Michigan at Wisconsin game. He's got Michigan minus 17.5.
I mean, fading me is a good strategy. That's fair.
Yeah. He's got Illinois minus 9.5 at Purdue. I also really like that one.
Yeah.
He's got Carson Beck over 0.5 interceptions versus Florida State.
Is that real? Because I would do that one.
It probably is on one of the websites that he can access down in Florida right now. And
what is this? The Ram? What is this?
So
I'm not familiar with any of these words.
So he did put an NFL bet in there. It's too late for any of y'all that are listening to this, and it's too late for him because he's already placed it. While the Rams are down. But he got the Rams minus 19.5 versus San Francisco
-5.
minus 5. What did I say?
19.5, wherever
Not
that came
that
from.
one. Nope. Minus 5 versus San Francisco before the Niners announced the entire offense was out and they'd be trotting out Mac Jones. The problem is Mac Jones is dotting up the Rams right this moment, and the Rams are down 14-0.
Oof. Oof.
So take everything Mike just said with a grain of salt because
You know what the Rams need to do to get back in this game. We both know what they need to
steady.
do. Get Stetson Bennett on the field now. I know
Stequavius
he
the Puka
lost to Mac
Nakua.
Jones in college, but come on now.
Oh, that's right. Mac was there in 2020.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. That's going to do it for this episode of the Nothing Finer podcast. If y'all get into too much of that Kentucky Brown on Saturday, a little too early, and you want to talk some trash, go ahead and hit us up on the Calling the Dogs line at 912-421-9695. But either way, follow us on social media at nothing.finer.pod on Instagram, at finerpod on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. Just look us up and you will find us there. And most importantly, remember there is nothing finer in the land
And a drunk, obnoxious Georgia fan. We ain't talking about you wine and cheesers.